Uh, let's find out a little bit about the history of the GDPR. Okay, in order then to come to the definition of the GDPR itself. Okay, so as the technology progressed and the internet was invented, the European Union recognized the need for modern protections as well. Like that, in 1995, it passed actually the European Data Protection Directive, which was actually establishing minimum data privacy and security standards upon which each member state based its own implementing law. But already the internet was actually morphing to the data however it is today. And then in such way, in 1994, the first banner and ad actually appeared online. Then in 2000, a majority of financial institutions offered online banking. Then in 2006, Facebook has opened to the public. In 2011, happened that the Google user sued the company for scanning her emails. So like that, 2 months after that, Europe's Data Protection Authority declared the EU needed a comprehensive approach on personal data protection, and work began to update the 1995 directive. And as a result of such work, actually was the GDPR born. Okay, let's move along. Here we are at what is the GDPR. Okay, well, in short, we can say that it is a new regulation which is actually aiming to standardize and strengthen the citizens' data protection rights. Okay, but in general, the information era brings blessings to human society, as we know, but at the same time, it threatens people's privacy. As humans spend increasing amounts of time in digital world, personal data protection is placed at the heart of many hot debates, which often conclude that we currently live in a world where people's privacy is highly fragile. The General Data Protection Regulation, or shortly known with an acronym such as the GDPR, is the toughest privacy and security law in the world. Though it was drafted and passed by the European Union, it imposes obligations onto organizations anywhere so long as they target or collect data related to the people in the European Union. Okay, so now that we know what is actually the GDPR, with the GDPR, actually the Europe is signaling its firm stance on data privacy and security at the time when more people are entrusting their personal data with cloud services, and breaches are actually a daily occurrence. So the regulation itself is large, far-reaching, and fairly light on specifics, making the GDPR compliance a daunting prospect, particularly for small and medium-sized enterprises. Now, to find out whether the GDPR is actually a burn for the companies, we'll find out when the GDPR, once we find out when the GDPR became applicable, we'll see the process of implementation, implementing the GDPR within the organizations or within the businesses. Okay, in the question when the GDPR became applicable, the new General Data Protection Regulation adopted in 2016 or 2016 became enforceable on May 25th, 2018. And as such, it actually replaced the European Data Protection Directive, which was established or passed as a law in 1995. Okay, so such regulation is applicable to all EU organizations. So to all of the companies and organizations and businesses that are actually operating in the European Union, and also to any organization, any company, any business worldwide that is actually handling and processing the data of the European Union citizens. Okay, so now that we are actually know when the GDPR became applicable, and we are aware of what is actually which particular data the GDPR is actually looking at protecting, let us find out whether GDPR is a burden for the small and medium-sized enterprises. Always. Okay, so organizations certainly have to change the way that they are actually handling and processing the data, or they have handled and processed the data in the past. But more importantly, it is necessary to shift the organization's mindset to ensure that customer concerns are properly addressed. Though every organizational policy in data protection is placed at the heart of every business strategy. So the GDPR should not be seen as a burden, whether small or medium-sized businesses or the small and mid-sized enterprises, or the big corporations. Actually, but it should be seen rather as the opportunity to tie up the data, improve the organization's reputation, and build more solid relationship. So these are actually some of the considerations to be looked at the way of actually taking out the decision to implementing the GDPR within a particular business or a particular company or organization. Okay, to what is the GDPR then applied? Straightforward, the GDPR is applicable to all European Union organizations and any organization worldwide that is actually handling and processing the data of the European citizens, as we've seen this one earlier when we went over the date when the GDPR was actually applied or came into force. Okay, so if it happens that your company is actually processing the personal data of the European Union citizens or residents, or maybe your company, your organizations, your business, your institution is actually offering goods or services to such people, and we'll say such people is actually, again, referring to the EU citizens, then the GDPR applies to your business, to your organizations, to your institutions, to your company, even if you're not operating in the European Union, even if you're not actually physically located in the European Union. Okay, moving forward. 2 tiers of penalties. Why is this one? Well, the fines for violating the GDPR are actually very high. There are 2 tiers of penalties, which max out at 20 million euros or 4% of global revenue, whichever is actually higher. Okay. Plus data subjects that have the right to seek compensations for damages. So with this information, the organizations, the companies that are actually involved in the process of our processing data of the EU citizens, and which companies, organizations, institutions, and businesses have already applied the GDPR, they need to be quite aware and actually responsible in actually implementing in its fullness the GDPR. Okay, moving